welcome to Rathod's IAS Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 21st February 2025. So let's get started with our discussion. So let us see important topics from your static and as well as dynamic point of view which appeared in our today's paper, so that you can make a detailed notes on the topics that I am going to say now. I will be giving you clearly from which subject is important and even dimensions, so that you can make a clear cut notes that will be very useful for your preparation, guys. And one more thing here is, before seeing all these articles, I want to make a small announcement. We in Rathod's IAS Academy, we are going to start new batch for Prelims cum Mains Foundation. That is on March 5th. March 5th of 2025, new batch is going to be launched. So if you want to take course of Prelims cum Mains Foundation, you can join our academy. We are providing both on online and offline. So the key features are, every day we will be having only 5 hours of classes, including current affairs and daily answering practice with weekend test, and as well as material is provided. And we are also going to provide monthly magazine after end of the each month as well. And I will be available in academy itself from morning to evening, so that if you have any doubt regarding anything, you can come and you can directly approach me. Okay, and classes will be going on only in English, so there will be no intermixing of other languages like Hindi and Telugu for sure. So if you want to choose, you can choose either on offline or online. And if you have any queries regarding this course, you can call us on the number 8074765513, and even that as WhatsApp number, you can text me on WhatsApp as well. Okay, now let us see the first article, guys. So if you see the title of this first article, so here in your front page, there is a very small and long article. It is about Microsoft unveils chip for quantum computing. So this article is talking about one chip which came up by Microsoft, and it will be helpful for quantum computing. Okay, now let us write that. So here this article is talking about Microsoft came up with a chip, and this chip is helpful for quantum computing. So how can you use this article from your UPSC point of view? So this article is important from both prelims and as well as mains, guys. So here you have to know about what is the name of chip, and you have to know about some important features of this, so that from this name and features you can expect a prelims based question. Like they may ask, recently this Manorama is in use, what is it? It is a chip developed by Microsoft. So like that you may get a question regarding the name of that chip. And this quantum computing, it is part of your GS paper 3 under science and technology. So here you have to see certain dimensions, like what is this quantum computing, and you have to see what are the different types we have, and you have to see about what are the applications, and you have to see what are the challenges and what is the way forward. So if you see these dimensions, then your main point of view is done, guys. So now let us see this article in detail. So if you see this article, it is talking about Microsoft has unveiled a groundbreaking chip, and the name here is Majorana 1. And you have to remember that for sure. So here itself you can write about the name of this chip. One is very important because it is the first chip. We are going to use it for quantum computing. So you have to see that. And next, what is advantage of this chip? So actually without this chip of this Microsoft, it is very difficult to have this quantum computing. So because of this identification of this chip by this Microsoft, it had been advanced the timeline for this quantum computing in India, so that we can get this technology very soon. Only by years we can get this quantum computing rather than decades. Earlier, before finding of this chip, so there was some assumptions that if you want to get this quantum computing in India, so it will take like decades. Decades means nothing but more than 20 years time it will take. But because of this groundbreaking unveiling of chip by this Microsoft, that is Majorana, so finally we are going to approach this quantum computing soon in India. So because of this, it is one of the milestone It is one of the milestone in science and technology, so that you may get a question regarding this quantum computing, or else what is about this chip for sure in your prelims, guys. And now let us see some important points that you have to remember. The first one here is, because of this announcement of this chip, which is very very important, because we are going to shift in the field of this quantum computing in India. That means we are going to get further more technological advancements in a very rapid pace. Now we know we don't have that much time to wait for decades, so within some years itself we are going to develop that. And next one here is, because of this identification of this chip, so even we can understand that, oh shit, there is lot of advantage that we can have in the scientific research. So here obviously there will be the impact or more implications on our scientific research we have. And next one here is, by using this quantum computing, we can enhance our medicine related applications like drug discovery, and we can also optimize treatment plans, and even we can get better simulations of molecular interactions to prepare the medicines, everything. So we can use this quantum computing in the medicine. And next one here is, one of the most critical obstacles in this quantum computing, it is nothing but qubits to flip between states. So by using this chip we can address these issues as well. And even we are going to have interdisciplinary collaboration now between the different fields of expertise, including physics, engineering, and as well as computer science, by this unveiling of new chip. So if you're talking about what is this quantum computing, it is a cutting edge technology. So in this technology, we are using the principles of quantum mechanics, and we are trying to processing the information in fundamentally different way than classical computers. For example, what are the computers they are, now we are using, they are focusing on this binary function that is based on 0 and 1 digit, right? So apart from this, we are using this quantum bits or qubits now in this quantum computing. And what are the principles of this quantum computing? So it operates on the principles which are derived from quantum mechanics. Especially those principles include superimposition. Qubits can exist in multiple states simultaneously, 0, 1, or both, so that we can explore many possibilities, so that we can solve much more complex problems, that too very fast compared to that of our traditional computers. And next one here is entanglements. So qubits can become interconnected. That means in one state of one qubit is directly related to the state of another qubit. So because of this, we can have highly coordination between the qubits, and so that we can make some efficient calculations. And next one is quantum interference. So in this, quantum states can interfere with each other, so that it can amplify correct solutions, and it can also cancel the incorrect ones, so that we can enhance our accuracy in solving the problems. And this one is quantum measurement. So observing a quantum state causes it to collapse into a definite value. So it is one of the key step in solving of problems, so that we can get exact results. So these are the some important principles on which this quantum computing is based. So because of this, we can get more accurate solutions or more accurate things, and we can solve the problems very fast by using this quantum computing. So where we can use this quantum computing, what are the applications? So always remember, in your UPSC prelims, especially from science and technology subject, you will be getting questions on applications. Application based questions will be there. So if you see the applications of this quantum computing, we can use it in cryptography. So quantum algorithms can be used especially in breaking off some classical methods. So especially in cryptography, we can use that. And next one is, we can use this quantum computing in optimization. That is nothing but especially in the supply chain management and logistics, that is transport and financial portfolio optimization. So in all these areas, we can use this quantum computing. And next one is in drug discovery, like to develop new structure of molecular thing or any interactions, or for improving or accelerating this drug development process, and personalized medicine. So in those all these areas also we can use that. And not only that, in science we can predict some new materials, chemicals, and which can be helpful in designing of semiconductors and advanced materials, we can use that. And even in AI and machine learning we can use, and even climate modeling. So there are wide range of applications of this quantum mechanics that you have to see, or quantum computing. And now let us see next article. And title says, yes, see that the Supreme Court stays Lokpal order on power over judges. So here this article is talking about two important things. First one is Supreme Court, second one is Lokpal. Okay, now let us write these keywords. So first one is Supreme Court, second one is Lokpal. So the third important point here is Supreme Court stays Lokpal order on power over judges. It is talking about cases on judges. So actually you know about this Lokpal and Lokayuktas. So where you will be seeing about this Lokpals and Lokayuktas? In your GS paper 2 under polity. In your Lakshmi Kant also you will be studying about this Lokpals and Lokayuktas. They are nothing but ombudsmen. So here they are not present in our direct constitution, but because of some act we came up. Okay, that is Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act. We established this Lokpal at central level and this Lokayuktas at state level, right? And here, what is the context? Why it is in news? Because so Lokpal is dealing with some cases on judges, and in that dealing, it gave a judgment. Lokpal gave a judgment, and now Supreme Court is interfering in that, and Supreme Court is giving stay on this judgment of judges by this Lokpal. So because of this, this is in news. And now let us see what is the issue. And before that, you have to see about some basic dimensions. So what are the dimensions you have to see? You have to see about Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act, and you have to see what are the important features, and you have to see about history of this Lokpals and Lokayuktas in India, and you have to see about members appointed by whom, removal, tenure, and eligibility next. And next you have to see about what are the challenges faced by these Lokpals and Lokayuktas and what is the way forward. So all these things are very important. And even you have to see about some facts regarding Supreme Court. So in your polity, you will be having this chapter called as judiciary. In this judiciary, we have three-tier judiciary in India. We have Supreme Court, which is apex court, and at the state level we have apex court, which is high court. At the district level we have district courts or subordinate courts, and here we have civil courts and criminal courts. So here you have to see about Supreme Court, and you have to see about judges of Supreme Courts, and especially you have to see appointment process, removal process, what are the powers and responsibilities. And next you have to see about some other words like we will be having uh, some other types of judges. We will be having other types of judges, so you have to see other types of judges. And the next one here is you have to see about this collegium system, and you have to see about judges cases, first judge case, second judge case, like that. And you have to see about NJAC Act. So if you see all these dimensions and your static syllabus of this Supreme Court is done, and you have to see all those things. And now if you see this article, it is saying that the Supreme Court of India has placed a stay on what? On recent Lokpal order. Lokpal gave up a judgment or order which is talking about authority to investigate the complaints against High Court judges. So actually Lokpal gave an order regarding High Court judges, and now Supreme Court gave a stay on this order to stop that stay for temporary period. The Supreme Court gave a stay on this Lokpal order on this High Court judges case. So why Supreme Court gave a stay? So Supreme Court said that whenever there is interpretation is happening of jurisdiction, it is causing very disturbance. So especially whenever Lokpal is interfering in this High Court judges and their related cases, so it is causing some disturbance with this Supreme Court. So because of this, Supreme Court gave a stay on this Lokpal order. So this is the explanation which is given by Supreme Court. And now let us see some important points here that you have to remember. So here this article is saying that judicial independence at stake. The Supreme Court gave a stay on this Lokpal's order, means we can understand that there is some critical aspect of democracies involved. Especially they are saying that judges have the independence. So here whenever this Lokpal is interfering in this High Court judges or Supreme Court judges, so it is affecting this component called as independence of judiciary. So it is integral part, right? And next one here is, if there is any encroachment on this judicial authority, that will leads to compromised legal system. So now judges, they may feel pressurized or influenced by other external bodies. So because of this question which mainly raises about balance of power, so among this governmental branches, and actually this Supreme Court is asking that we need a clear delineation of authority. So who are having which powers? So we need to have a clear cut delineation of authority. So this is the thing which mainly said by Supreme Court. And next one here is Lokpal now interpreted that High Court judges as public servants. So if there is any corruption which is happening with these public servants, we as an authority, we will be dealing with that cases. So this is the thing which mainly set by Lokpal. And next one here is, yes, there is a potential judicial overreach is also happening. So here Lokpal's attempt to encompass High Court judges, which raises concerns about now judicial overreach. So if Lokpal is saying that yes, these people who are coming under this public servants, and if there are any allegations of corruptions are happening on that, we will be interfering and we will be taking that cases. But here on another side, what happening whenever Supreme Court is interfering? Yes, now again there is a concept of judicial overreach. And next one here is the role of Lokpal. So here Lokpal mandate, it is to address what? It is to address corruption among public officials. However, the extension of this jurisdiction to judges could lead to conflict of interest, and even sometimes there will be the politicization of judicial matters. Okay, so actually the problem here is in this Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act of 2013. So they said about public servants, but they didn't clear who will come under this public servants. So because of this, now Lokpal took a case of High Court judges, and Supreme Court is interfering that no, you should not do that. We need to have a clear cut rules and regulations of Lokpal and Lokayukta. So that is the thing which mainly said here. Okay, and if you see, you have to see about some facts regarding this Lokpal and as well as Lokayuktas for sure. So open your Lakshmikant book and try to refer this article for sure. And now let us see the next article. It is talking about governments of opposition ruled states in South India reject proposed UGC rules. So this article is talking about UGC. We are not focusing on any other political issue. So just we have to see about UGC. UGC rules. So let us see what is this full form of UGC first. UGC is nothing but University Grants Commission. Okay, it is nothing but University Grants Commission. So university which comes under primary or secondary education or higher education, obviously it will comes under higher education. Okay, so why this UGC is in news? Because recently what happened was Union Education Ministry, that means Education Ministry at the central level, came up with UGC 2025 rules. Okay, so recently our central government from Central Education Ministry came up with this UGC rules 2025, and it came up with some changes in our earlier rules. So one important change which made is about appointment of Vice Chancellor. So one important change is about appointment of Vice Chancellor VC. So because of this change, what happened? That reduced this role of state government. So because of this changes in appointment of VC procedure, that led to reduced role of state government. So if there is decreasing of role of state governments, will the state governments agree? No. That is the thing which is happening. Especially South Indian countries, they are against this UGC rules of 2025, that too in opposition parties. As you all know that at the central level we have BJP. In South India, so most of the states, they are not under this BJP. We have Congress states, right? Especially in Karnataka, Telangana, and even in Tamil Nadu, we don't have this BJP-led governments. So because of this, what happened? Because of this decreasing of role of state government, now South Indian states, they are not accepting this UGC 2025 rules. So this is the thing why it is in news. And now let us see the dimensions what you have to see. You have to see about some facts regarding this UGC. What is this University Grants Commission? So when it was established, what about the members? And you have to see about the functions, roles and responsibilities. So you have to see some facts of this. And next you have to see about what are these new rules of 2025, and you have to see what are the challenges. So because of these challenges only, now it is in news. South Indian states, you are not accepting. So now let us see this in detail. So governments of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and Telangana, they said that they are going to oppose this UGC regulations 2025 in one convention. So what is the news? Why it is there? Because in month of January, around this end of January, so Union Ministry of Education, that is Central Education Ministry, released UGC, that is minimum qualifications for appointment, promotion of teachers and academic staff in universities, colleges, and measures of maintenance of standards in higher education regulations 2025. So new rules of 2025 had been released by Union Education Ministry. So now let us see what is this UGC first. UGC was established near 1956. It is very old institution and it is a statutory body. It had been established under UGC Act of 1956. And this was established based on recommendation of one commission, and you have to remember that commission led by Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. And this UGC will be obviously operating under Ministry of Education. So because of this, now the rules and regulations are came up by this Ministry of Education. So headquarters were New Delhi, and it is also having some regional offices in some areas like Pune, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Bhopal, Guwahati and Bangalore. So in these areas they are also having some regional offices. And what are the functions? So they will be setting standards for accreditation, for affiliation. And next one is they will be also implementing some schemes for faculty development, for providing a scholarship for the students and fellowships. And they will also monitor and regulate higher education institutions, and they also promote Indian knowledge systems as well. So these are some important functions. So because of these functions, they came up with setting up of standards now about faculty development. So if you see about this rules, the first one is appointment of VCs, that is vice chancellors. So here vice chancellors, they will be selected by search cum selection committee now. And who will be there? So we will be having chancellor or visitor governor for the most of the state universities, and UGC chairman will be from your central government, and we will be having university apex body. So here what is eligibility criteria? So VC should be a professional from academia or like industry or public administration or public policy, and he will serve 5-year term, and even they are eligible for reappointment. So this is the one important thing. And second one here is they also made emphasis on notable contribution. So the recruitment and promotion of faculty, they have to consider some contributions about the faculty. So if they have to get the promotion, they have to do something. What they have to do? They have to involve in innovative teaching methods, how they are teaching. And next one is they should sponsor some research, and they should teach in Indian languages, and they should also can get some startups aligned with higher education policies. So if they are doing something in these areas, they will be getting promotion, or else they won't. And next one is career advance scheme. So the promotions will be based on qualitative assessment rather than score based metric now. So they have to contribute for research, training and as well as community engagement. So if they are doing this, they will be eligible or else not. And next one is there is also one more important criteria, that is they want to promote research and as well as and teaching in Indian languages, especially people who are coming from the very poor background. So if they are not socially that much good. So there the people should get education in this Indian language, and we'll be also seeing whether the teaching is happening in this Indian language or not. And next one here is we need to have this flexibility in faculty recruitment. So it will be allowing candidates for qualify for teaching roles also. And next one is there is also increased role for contractual teachers now. So especially there is a cap of removing of 10% of faculty should be based on contract based, so that we can increase contractual teachers now. And even we are encouraging the participation of these underrepresented groups in these universities, like SCs, STs, OBCs, CWS, persons with disabilities, etc., so that they will be also recruited as faculty, and as well as in leadership role also they can play an important role. And even government is also mandating that there is a need of transparency and governance even in this recruitment process, promotion of faculty. And next one here is they are focusing on research and entrepreneurship. So these are the new rules under this UGC 2025. So what are the challenges here? So because of this increased role of governors or chancellors in appointing of these vice chancellors, so governors are nothing but they are appointed by central government, not by state government, right? So there is increasing of center role compared to that of states. So because of this, especially states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they are opposing because of this. And next one here is it is also allowing non-academicians from industries or like public administration. There is a chance of acting as a vice chancellor. How these people can act as a vice chancellor? There will be compromising on this academic integrity and focus. So this is second important issue. And third one here is equity challenges. So there are some institutions, especially from rural backgrounds, there is no proper funding. Okay, so there is no proper infrastructure. They don't have access to the resources. So how they can focus on this lab development and online learning? So these institutions will be getting disadvantaged because they cannot focus on research. If the faculty who are working in these areas, if they want promotion, they don't get. So because of this, again, this is some cause of concern. And next one here is there is reduction of expenditure in this higher education, especially in this budget 2024. That is around 17% of reduction. So because of this, what happened? So infrastructure upgradations we can't go for, and even we cannot focus on startups, and we cannot focus on sponsored research and development, increasing of technology. Again, this is one more problem. And next one is even there is also a problem called as implementation challenges. So many universities, particularly in rural areas, they don't have trained personnel, they don't have infrastructure and research focused interdisciplinary reforms, so that there will be obviously financial burden on them, and they cannot take reforms like startup initiatives, research and development. And even there is also issue on quality now. So earlier we have only 10% cap on this contract people, but now this had been removed. That means there is an increasing of reliance on temporary faculty. There will be decreasing of permanent faculty in the institutions, so that will lead to insecurity and as well as reduced teaching quality as well. And next one is technological challenges. As I said, in some areas they don't have proper technology. So these are the some important challenges that we have because of this UGC 2025 rules. I hope you understood. And now let us see the next article. So title says Delhi cabinet decides to implement Ayushman Bharat table CAG reports. So you know that recent elections had been done in Delhi, and finally Rekha Gupta, she took charge as Delhi chief minister, right? Okay, so here we are not going to see the politics, everything, but there is one scheme which is mentioned here. What is the scheme? That is Ayushman Bharat. So whenever you are getting any scheme in use, so you have to see some basic facts relevant to that scheme. And every year, remember these 3 or 4 questions in your prelims will be based on schemes. So which are the schemes which appeared in that 1 year current affairs and in budget and in economic survey, you will be getting questions regarding that. You have to be very much careful, and it is a big chunk. So if you read around 50 to 60 schemes, you will be getting 3 to 4 questions directly. And if you see the context, it is about Ayushman Bharat Yojana, and they are going to table around 14 pending CAG reports also. But let us see about this. What is this Ayushman Bharat Yojana? So it is one of the world's largest health insurance scheme, which is fully financed by government. So actually recently there is one update regarding this Ayushman Bharat scheme, that is if you are above 70 years of age, then you will be getting this insurance under this scheme despite of any background that you have, economic background. So actually this scheme had been launched in year 2018 and it offers around 5 lakh rupees per family, and it includes both secondary and as well as tertiary care. Okay, and the health benefit packages includes you can go for surgery, you can go for medical and daycare treatment, and the cost of the medicines and diagnostics, everything will be included in that 5 lakh insurance. So who are the beneficiaries? So this entitlement based scheme which will target normally beneficiaries from socio-economic caste census, and now recent update is 70 years of people they will be getting this benefit, and the funding is 60 is to 40 and 90 is to 10 in northeastern states, and especially 100% funding for UTs without legislature. Okay, so those things are important. And see this article. So you can see one image of a person who is cleaning drainage. So this article is important from manual scavenging. So many a times we discussed about this manual scavenging in India. What is manual scavenging? So how it is affecting your fundamental rights, and even what are the schemes that we have, and even laws regarding this manual scavenging prevention act, and even we discussed about Namaste program or Namaste portal. And apart from that, even we discussed about science and technology advancements like Bandicoot that used recently in Kerala. So all those things that we discussed, no, so just focus on those areas. So this article is saying that NHRC issues notice to Bengal government over death of 2 workers. So here this article is talking about NHRC. So as you all know that when you read your non-constitutional bodies in your quality Lakshmikant, you'll come across this SHRC and NHRC. So this is a non-constitutional bodies which had been established under an act. Okay. So you have to see in detail about this NHRC. Open this chapter and see clearly about that NHRC, then your work is done. And now let us see the next article. So yesterday and day before yesterday we were talking about this. So day before yesterday we discussed that a CPCB report said that there is increased fecal coliform in Ganga river. It is from human and as well as animal excreta. And yesterday paper, Chief Minister of UP said that water in Ganga is very pure and even it is fit for drinking. And now there is one editorial regarding this, political plus scientific. So here we are not going to see the what is a political issue, but we are going to see about some important concepts. So here you have to see about BOD and COD. So write down somewhere BOD and COD. So BOD is nothing but biochemical oxygen demand, and DOE is nothing but dissolved oxygen. Okay, chemical dissolved oxygen, and BOD is biochemical oxygen demand. So actually, how can we say that water is pure or not? So we will be checking these two components, chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand. So here biological oxygen demand is nothing but if you are taking any water, if that water is having some organisms or like pollutants, it will take more amount of oxygen to dissolve it or to destroy it. Okay, that means if there is high BOD, we can say it is having some biological pollutants. So if this water is contaminated with some chemicals, if you want to remove that chemicals, so this water needs more COD. Okay, chemical oxygen demand. So if there is increasing of BOD and COD which happens in the water, then we can say it is a polluted water, it is not fit for using. Okay, so that is the one thing that you have to remember, that concept. And now let us see what this article is saying. So if you see this article, it is saying that pollution in Ganga needs long-term solution, not denialism. So actually, you know that what is happening across this river Ganga, that is Mahakumbh, especially in this UP Prayagraj region. So actually, what happening? So like many people, so huge crowd of people, they are going and they are visiting and they are having this dip in this river Ganga. So because of this increasing of visitors there, obviously what happens? There is increasing of pollution in this water, right? So here this article is saying that we need to have an effective crowd management system, and we need to focus on effective sanitation measures, because whenever we are having this large religious gatherings, obviously we will be having health impact for sure. And because of this influx of individuals that is also increasing, the likelihood of pathogens which are entering into the water. So whenever pathogens are entering into the water, that will lead to the widespread of health issues as well. And next one here is, if you see the scientific data versus political denial, so there is contrasting narratives which are happening. So on one side, CPCB data is saying that there is increasing of fecal coliform. On one side here, Chief Minister is saying that no, it is baseless. So we should not focus on like political thing, but we have to focus, or we have to get reliable data which is based on the scientific thing, so that we can decrease the health risk of millions of people who are going to this area. And next one here is, we have to go for routine monitoring, so that it will be revealing about the data regarding water quality fluctuations, so that we can take some steps. And next important point that you have to remember is ineligibility for ritual use. So based on the cultural and spiritual practices, we can encourage bathing in this river Ganga, but if it is not suitable, means we have to go for restriction of bathing in this region, and we can arrange some other bathing alternatives in this region. And next one here is, we have to try to focus on cleaning of water regularly, and we have to include some scientific methods to to analyze that whether there is pollution which is happening or not, what is the source of pollution, we have to try to eliminate that. And next one here is, especially we have to go for checking of this BOD and COD, and based on that we can use some measures so that we can increase the water quality. And even not only that, you know that Ganga river is the most polluted river, Ganga and river Yamuna, right? So we have to focus on this clean Ganga programs, or like Namami Gange program, which is one of the national mission that taken up by our government, so that we can restore the river health. And even we have to focus on transparency and revealing of the data regarding this purity of river Ganga. And there is one more article, so see this article guys. So as you all know that economy is not good, so there is decreasing of consumption, especially regarding this fast moving consumer goods, and even inflation is there. So this article is saying that, is consumption enough to drive growth? So if we are increasing the consumption, is that only thing enough to improve our economic growth? So this article is saying that, so for example, public investment in building a new highway network, the incomes received by workers and firms involved in the construction of this road project will generate fresh demand in economy. So here, this article is saying that not only consumption is important, but even from government side, there should be spending. So whenever government is spending, for example, government wants to construct a highway or any road project, highway or road project, what happened? So many laborers, they will come and they will be working, right? So this road project or highway will be not done within days, or within like 2 to 3%. So huge amount of people is required, huge number of people is required. And because of this infrastructure projects of government, it will be providing employment for many people, so that the laborers who are involved here, they will be getting salary or wages. So because of this, what happens? So these people will go to the market and they will raise the demands. So because of this, what happened? There will be the fresh demand, so that will be leads to economic growth. Okay. So here, whenever there is stagnation in our economy, so we have to go for increasing of public spending, the first point they said. And second point here is, we have to attract more investments. And in these investments, it may be like public investments or private investments. So we can also increase attraction of public and private investment. This is the second choice. And next one here is, government need to step in with its investments, particularly in critical sectors, and particularly it should attract private investments, so that it will be helpful for growth of larger section of society. So that is the thing, it mainly said it is not only consumption, we have to focus on spending of government and as well as investment. So if you are having these three together, like consumption and increasing of spending of government and investments, we can ensure the growth in our economy. So these are the three main points which are said, and you may get interview question or like mains question on this area. So you have to be very much careful about this. So these are the some important articles that appear in our today's Hindu newspaper. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do subscribe to Rathod Science Academy, and don't forget to like and subscribe.